Anyway, the next one that I wanted to watch
All right, let's move.
was another one from our friends over at Breaking Points. Um, this one is called Israel Panicking Over Iran War Already. Um, we'll see. Maybe it's cope, maybe it's not. I've heard that yeah, there might be the Israel. They might be turning into little panicans that they're just getting all panicky for no reason. And so let's see what the people at Breaking Points have to say about Israel panicking over Iran war already.
Move on to Israel.
Yeah, so we've got, sort of a parallel story here
Oof,
going on
that's a
from the
lot.
Israelis, where we just talked about how some of Trump's aides are leaking to the press, like, oh, we're trying to figure out how to get out of this thing. Well, the Israelis are apparently leaking to David Ignatius, who's known to be very tied in with the deep state over at the Washington Post, that they are also concerned. So this is worth taking note of with interest. Put this up on the screen. So the headline is, Israeli officials are growing concerned. A bombing campaign nearing its military goals in Iran leaves the hardest questions unanswered. A few senior officials in Israel are starting to voice concern about the escalating open-ended attack on Iran and suggesting possible exit ramps that might halt the war before it further damages the region and the global economy. Talk of an endgame is early, and a decision about whether to stop the attacks.
But I don't think you can this time. I think Iran will they will have like complete and total control of the de-escalation this time. I don't think there's anything that they can do about that. Even if Iran is like as many of their missiles or interceptors or as many of their missiles or deployment sites are hit, like they're going to just keep producing at a slower pace or whatever and just continue to lob missiles until they feel like they've caused enough damage. So like I just don't think they're going to be able to control this de-escalation whatsoever this time.
Rests largely with President Donald Trump. That's not what he said, by the way, in any case, who continues to seek all-out victory. But in a telephone conversation Sunday, a senior Israeli official familiar with the planning and strategy for the Iran war discussed alternatives to Trump's call for unconditional surrender. The official requested anonymity. So that is kind of the line coming out from
Maybe
these Israeli
conditional surrender, I guess. I don't know.
officials is, look, our bases are taking, direct hits. We're going to talk later about the radars that have been damaged. Our Gulf allies are really unhappy in a variety of ways. We'll talk about that as well. But the Israelis are taking active fire in their country. And we really don't have a clear view
That's the
of
price of
just
war.
how much damage has been done. But they have to be looking at the same interceptor math that we've been talking about in the context of this war, that we talked about in the context of the 12-day war, and going, I'm not sure how much we are able or willing to sustain. So they may be, reportedly.
Well, they did make this decision, and so they should have known that I mean, if they had half a brain, they would know that they wouldn't be able to control the de-escalation this time. Like, but to be honest, like Zionism just straight up rots your brain into, a mushy mass. Like, so I don't, I guess I understand why they weren't able to like foresee the consequences of their actions. Now, they're only getting hit like occasionally right now. I do think that once they start running low on missile interceptors, then we'll start seeing a little bit more panicking by Israel. I don't know exactly when that will be, but what I do know is that Iran, even under duress, even in times of war, will probably be able to build more missiles and drones per day or whatever than we in America are capable of building missile interceptors to, give to the give tax free to the great state of Israel.
After the 12-day war, it was really the Israelis who were the ones who said, let's call this quits for now. Let's come to some sort of a ceasefire. Let's end these hostilities for now, over precisely some of these same concerns. And I think, Sagar, they would probably be happy adopting effectively like a mow the lawn strategy, like what they've done in Gaza for years and years, where you go in, destabilize, blow a bunch of shit up, make it impossible for the country of Iran to grow and thrive and succeed, create a bunch of chaos. And then once the price gets too much to bear for you, or public sentiment starts to turn global sentiment. I should be clear, the Israeli public is very much on board with this war.
Yeah.
But once global sentiment starts to turn, okay, then we'll stop for now.
But we'll see. We'll see how much the Israeli public is on board once they actually start running out of missile interceptors. I do think there is a point that even the religious zealotry that feels like the zeitgeist in Israel will not be enough. Like it's not going to be enough to, because at the end of the day, they are still like little Westerners like us, right? Like where they don't have the ability to take like big hits and bounce back. They're not like the Palestinian people or the Lebanese people or the Yemeni people or these people who have had to deal with such strife throughout their like entire lives that they're able to just, that they're able to bounce back from anything. Like they're just not resilient at all. So I think that like eventually even their religious zealotry will start to turn into fear if they, if Iran actually does keep up the missile barrages into like the midterms or whatever, like November.
And then we'll go back in at a future time. That seems to be what they're aiming for. But of course, this is subject to the same problem that the Trumpian logic of, if Trump wants to taco, is subject to as well, which is that there was another party to this. And the Iranians seem to have learned a lesson from the 12-day war. They seem to regret having agreed to that ceasefire then, which just allowed the Israelis and the Americans to rebuild and re-equip so that they could come back in with an even more aggressive illegal war.
Yeah, and what I see in terms of the Israeli strategy is more of
an
acknowledgement of the widening of the conflict, where I really
For somebody who loves to wear suits all the time, I really think Sagar needs to like update his style. I'm sorry. That tie is not working. That I don't know. I think he's got to fix. Maybe he did just have a baby, I think, so maybe he's not able to put as much time and effort into picking out a tie every morning. But
it does seem to me that the Israelis in the U.S. actually believed a lot of their own BS, that they wouldn't strike elements of the Gulf. They just thought that this is a nightmare scenario. Same with the closure of the Straits of Hormuz. It was one of those like tail end risks, but not something that was really from what they were thinking would happen. I mean, Ignatius even writes that the bombing campaign was nearing the point of achieving its military objectives. But what they find is that, of course, we wish to topple the regime, but that's not the only end game. This is the Israeli. Once the major military targets have been eliminated, Israel will have achieved its goals. Iran won't surrender, but it can send messages to accept a ceasefire within U.S. conditions. But what that ignores is how the Iranians are going to respond, number one, and they've already gone for the max strategy. But two, I think what they're also saying from the Israeli perspective.
Sorry, I have to double check this.
For the max.
I think he has 2 watches on, man.
Strategy. But two, I think
he's got to be on time.
From the Israeli perspective, is they're like, oh man, now we're tied at the hip here with the United States, with Trump. We're tied at the hip, obviously, with them. They want to declare this some sort of regime change, but they're also learning, as we continue to see, there's strikes all over Israel. I mean, look, the war has already widened. Israeli soldiers have even been killed. Now with Hezbollah, they're having to expand into Lebanon, and what they
having to, like, that's a choice that they are making. But okay,
like as you said, is having the boogeyman exist. But if they actually go forward,
also, by the way, Hezbollah I've been actually pretty impressed with what they've been able to do so far. They've taken out some of the radars, I think, and like. They've been shooting missiles and then I think they've been kind of engaged in some skirmishes down as Israel tries to steal their land or whatever. I think that I may have fell into a little bit of the propaganda trap of thinking that Hezbollah was like completely decimated. Well, especially when I watched that video of that person from Lebanon talking about how much little political support like Hezbollah had at the time. But like it does seem like they're doing a decent amount so far. I'm viva the resistance, right?
Then what are they going to do? They can't rile up their whole population every few years and say, oh, well, we have to go bomb them because of their nuclear threat. If they actually did replace the regime, then they would have to, first of all, we'd have to live with their consequences, and people could see how much of a nightmare that it's all become. But I think more than anything, this is probably more about munitions math, and it's about defense readiness and the reality of a long war and what it's all going to look like.
Yeah, well, and there were also some indications before Trump kicked off this war
I like
that it was
that
the Israelis.
shirt.
Again, this was some reporting that came out. Netanyahu had come to, visit Trump in December, and it looks like that's when they made the decision. Like, okay, we're gonna go to war, and in my opinion, all the negotiations were totally.
This always reminds me of that like Return of the King or whatever, where there's that like worm guy or whatever his name was, who's like whispering in the ear of like the king that is like mentally just like not there or whatever. I always feel like Netanyahu is going up to Trump being like, "We have the tapes. Do it, bomb Iran." I'm like, like I don't know. That's kind of what I figure is happening
Fake is
in
evidenced
those
by the fact
meetings.
that they sent two guys who really didn't know what they were talking about in order to lead these alleged negotiations. And of course, while you're in the midst of these negotiations and the Iranians have just given up more concessions than they have ever have, that's the moment when you choose to actually start the war. But in any case, there was reporting that it was actually the Israelis that were like, wait, we're not ready to start yet. And the U.S. moved even more firepower into the region, moved another carrier strike group into the region. And so the alleged diplomacy was to kind of run out the clock so that the war could start at a time when we would be somewhat more prepared. Just imagine how disastrous this would have been if it started even earlier, when we were even less prepared, given what a disaster it already is. So yeah, I mean, the Israelis are the ones taking the direct hits in their country. And so they've now realized that, I don't know if they ever believed, they probably didn't, that if they decapitated the regime, that the whole thing would collapse. But once that has not come to fruition, there's no signs that you're going to have some sort of, regime change. The Kurds are like, we're not getting involved here. You're,
Good.
not looking at civil war conditions at this point. Then the next best option for Israel is to say, okay, well, we blew up a bunch of shit. Iran has paid a price. We'll back off for now, and then we'll come back later. We'll do the same thing. We got Trump in office for a few more years. We can, later on, we'll talk him into this again. We'll once again threaten to strike Iran. If he doesn't, we'll once again, talk about how they're rebuilding their nuclear program. By the way,
Even if that happened, though, even if they were able to, get out of this whenever they wanted, the fact of the matter is that like Iran can just outproduce us. Like they can. They can produce more drones and they can produce more missiles per year than we can produce interceptors. So unless this magical, mystical laser interceptor thing that they've created is like the ready to go or whatever, like I'll believe it when I see it. Like war is always about production, and Iran just even under sanctions has more productive capabilities than our trillion-dollar military budget.
that might be true. Now, given the logic that we have created, it gives them every incentive to go in that direction. So I think that's some of the calculus there. At the same time, we wanted to take a look at our friend Lindsey Graham, who we covered yesterday. Reporting about, we already knew he was very influential in terms of pushing for this war. This is
He's one of the few that I think that Israel also has some sort of blackmail on as well, by how much of a freak he is for it. Like, I have my thoughts about what it might be. I think he might, I think he might have a taste for for men instead of girls. Like, I think it's sort of or like a lot of people assume that he's gay, and it probably is the case. But yeah, I wonder if that's it, or if he has some, Epstein shit like Trump on him, whatever.
Your lifelong dream at this point. There is no one happier, I think, on the planet right now than this bloodthirsty ghoul. And so he was, making the rounds over on Fox News yesterday, just talking about how much he is committed to Israel, how much he loves Israel, et cetera. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
All the anti-Seminites to all the isolationists.
Anti-Seminites.
Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for. So we have a commander-in-chief in President Trump, who I think is Ronald Reagan plus. God bless Israel. Right. We should move all our stuff to Israel.
God bless Israel. Good. He just wants America to become Israel. That's what I'm telling you, man. He's like a foreign actor. Like I feel like he just wants America to like be completely controlled and owned by Israel. Like,
thank you.
God bless Israel. Should move all our stuff to Israel. I'll be with Israel to my dying day. I mean, this is a United States senator. Him and Ted Cruz.
Iran, if you're listening out there, if you're listening to this humble this humble YouTuber, okay? If there's anyone that you're going to take out, I know you said you're like Trump needs to watch out. If there's anybody else that you're looking for, maybe a slightly easier target. There's a little there's a little in the closet gay man in Congress that you know, he's out there, you know. I'm sure you can find him.
Cruz, both out there just openly admitting that this is their #1 priority. Calling Trump Ronald Reagan plus is also really something. And it's important to play these comments and understand this man's mindset because he has been very influential. He had a plan to push Trump in this direction. Again, Trump's a big boy. This is his fault ultimately. And the reporting is that he ended up being pretty enthusiastic about going in this direction.
I never thought like Lindsey Graham actually had that much influence, to be honest. The influence that he holds is only what he can get to Trump through the news, I think, like through like Fox News, like getting his talking points on Fox News. But I don't think that Trump respects him at all, and I don't think he really takes his actual like stuff into conversation, like into consideration. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
But Lindsey Graham has been there making the case routinely, religiously for years now at this point. And so in a lot of ways, you know, he is driving this train, or at least he is incredibly important in terms of why we ended up in this whole disaster.
It's funny.
One day I got to do like a tier list of like our senators or our Congress people. I'd probably start with the senators because there's only 100 of them, right? Like, I feel like I could do a decent tier list about that. Maybe that's what I'll do for a weekend stream or something.
And MAGA's like, President Trump, please keep Lindsey Graham off the air. He's hurting your case. I'm like, no. He's the only fucker who's telling us all the truth, okay? That he's in here with a blood relationship with, they've got some, like, Angelina Jolie, Billy Bob Thornton wearing each other's blood around their necks. Like some satanic ritual that's going on between the two of them. I don't, we'll only speculate. But that's what's really going on with old.
See, when Tucker's like this, I think he's kind of funny. Ooh, maybe, yeah. I think that's a good idea, Memstraw Hat. I feel like that'll play really good in the algorithm as well on YouTube.
And Israel, but that's the truth. Yesterday Laura Ingraham even had Ted Cruz on her show, and she's like, "You don't think it's a little weird that Lindsey Graham is going over to Israel and coordinating with their intelligence agencies on
He's
how
a
to pressure
foreign
the
agent.
president?" Well, he loves America. That's what Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
He goes, he loves America. No, he doesn't. He even said at one point in the interview, he's like,
how are these people not charged with like treason? Like, I don't understand this. You cannot be like openly doing the bidding of like Mossad, like a foreign agent's like spy agency or whatever. Like, it's so annoying. Like, people should be way more pissed about this shit than they are.
I'm going back to South Carolina to convince them to send their sons and daughters to the Mideast.
Oh my God. Good luck.
Yeah, and look, people of South Carolina, at this point, you guys have had plenty of chances. I don't know what the hell you guys are doing down there. But, the real point that remains is that we are in some...
Hey, I said yesterday, conscientious objection. Look it up. If you don't want to get drafted or anything, look it up. You just get to go around and do community service or whatever for the country. It's much better than dying for the like Nazi state of Israel.
Suicidal blood pact with this country. A significant part of our electorate is either compromised or ideological. For him, I do think it's ideological, 100%, because he's been saying
a little from column A, a little from column B.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows, right? But I mean, he's been saying it for 20, 30 years. Like, this is his entire worldview, but it does demonstrate what we're all into. And the Israelis may say to David Ignatius that they're a little worried, but their calculus is always escalate, 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 escalate. And you can also see how in the Gulf, we are dramatically losing a lot of our allies. Like, let's go and put to the next one, please, B3.
Oof, man. If there's one thing that could come out of this, it's just one. All I want is one of the Gulf monarchies to get toppled. That's all. Just one Gulf monarchy like getting toppled. That would be amazing.
Good example. So you have the UAE, which says that the Emirates reaffirms their commitment not to allow their airspace, territory, waters to be used for any military actions against Iran. Now, that's not even true, right? Because you can already see that there has obviously been, a lot of launchers and other things. Who knows, even with their own base. But what they're trying to do is signal to Iran that they have nothing to do with this. You've also had multiple instances now where the UAE is upset with Israel because they're saying, oh, hey, Israelis, stop trying to leak that we are responsible for some attack on a desalination plant. And even the Iranians are responding. Recently, the Pentagon posted a picture of some missile batteries that were in the desert. And the Iranian foreign minister was like, thank you for confirming that you have these weapons on their soil, which is the...
Iran has their own intel. Like, they don't need, they don't need any of this. They know if, like, they're hitting their targets pretty well. They know if you got American military assets on your soil. Like, you can try to trick your people or whatever, throw out your tweets on X, but like, they got their own intel. They're big boys. They can figure it out themselves.
Exact reason that we are striking you. But the point
of Trump in his presser yesterday said that Gulf Arab states had launched attacks.
Right. So. I mean, who knows if that's true or not? Probably true, if you ask me. But let's go to the next part, because this is very interesting. This was passed around everywhere. I referenced it a little bit in our show, is this UAE billionaire who has been accusing the U.S. of dragging the region into the war and rejecting calls from the Gulf states to join. He gave this long missive, I'm sure you saw it, criticized Trump. Who authorized you to drag our region into...
Hey, I got news for all of these UAE people. If you didn't allow all of our military bases to come onto your soil, then you would not be getting hit right now. Like, that is your choice that you made. Now, the reason that you have been, but the contrast to that, though, is if you did not allow all of those military bases to be put on your soil and to essentially, like, let your country be used as like a fleshlight for America, then you would not be allowed to prosper as much to create these types of societies that you have, where these billionaires, like these capitalist dystopias where these billionaires get to, like, have a bunch of slaves do all of their manual labor for them or whatever. So it's like, you took the benefits of allowing America to put all of their bases onto your soil. Like, so now, like, again, you just have to live with the consequences. Like, I hate these people who just complain about the obvious consequences of what would have happened, like, no matter what, if this ever escalated to this. It's like, just stop being a little bitch about it.
The war. And as I explained yesterday, there's no such thing as, like, an independent billionaire in these countries. Like, you only speak, and you do it twice, especially if the government is like, yeah, man, go ahead. All of your, it's like China. Like, business is part of the state. That's literally how they wield all of their power. It's all it's intertwined for their own national interest. He is giving, these long, like, Bill Ackman-style essays about how bad America's decision is, how dangerous it is,
America bad,
how they've weakened their country, how they have to question their alliances, how they're not going to join, the Gulf, the rest of the Gulf states in being dragged in. All they want is for this conflict to end. And you can see why. I mean, look at this map. Let's go to the next one, guys, just to show you all. I mean, to describe this as not a regional / global war at this point is preposterous. If you're watching our show, look at the arrows of all of the different countries that have either been attacked or been backed by, attacked by the United States, Israel, whether they've been bombed, whether Iran has bombed them, the type of rockets, the number of strikes. And we're talking about thousands at this point.
That's a cool map.
That have all crossed all of these different borders.
I'll have to take a closer look at that.
Of what, like 10 days that we've gone now so far. I believe that the number is now 20 different countries that are now directly or indirectly involved in this conflict. It's completely, it's gone literally global. Cyprus, obviously, the French.
When you let Israel do whatever the fuck it wants, this is what happens. So
the entire French Navy is on its way right now down to the Middle East. It's literally a catastrophe, and it's only been 10 days. It's crazy.
Well, and to go back to our friend Lindsey Graham, I don't know who this man thinks he is, but he's out there directly, like, threatening Saudi Arabia and offering them certain, defense agreements if they go along and fully participate in the bombing campaign. This is B2. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
Finally, to my friends in Saudi Arabia, I've been your biggest champion. I think the Crown Prince has taken Saudi Arabia in a completely different direction in a good way. But here's what I want to say to Saudi Arabia tonight. I'm willing to do.
Well, he's saying that because I'm sure that Saudi Arabia allows him to import whatever, like, 12-year-old peasant boys that he wants to have sex with. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. Like, I don't know. They're all the Epstein class, you know. I think, can we just kind of assume at this point that if you're like one of these ghouls in the Trump administration, that, like, you're partaking in that?
A mutual defense agreement with your country to give you protection in perpetuity. Under the agreement I've been pushing, and I hope we can continue to talk about, if you're attacked by Iran, we would go to war for you.
Who are you?
Who said that?
You're not like you're not the president. You're not in the cabinet. You're not the Secretary of War. You're not the Secretary of State. You're now freelancing, offering defense agreements to various countries.
Graham.
And I think the Saudi piece, though, is really important. I understand why he's so upset about it, because there was some reporting that Saudi was low key or high key interested in this war, supportive of this war. I don't know whether that's true or not. The Saudis denied it. It could have been, sort of a planted story. But in any case, they have a long-term rivalry with Iran. So they also stand to benefit if Iran and if the Iranian government is weakened. But at the same respect, they are feeling very exposed. They don't want their country to continue to be attacked. And so even Saudi Arabia, which of course has been a very...
Well, and also the political dynamics of Saudi Arabia is very much like repressive, and the people don't have much of a say. And so, like, that's where I'm like, if I don't know. I don't know which one would be the most most likely for, like, some sort of, like, uprising or whatever, but I feel like Saudi Arabia is a potential.
A longtime ally of the U.S., probably our one of our biggest allies in the region, our biggest outside of Israel. If they're even doing the calculus of, like, I don't know if we really want to be involved with this, that shows you the thinking here. And for Iran, winning this war for Iran just means survival, right? That's the ultimate goal, is just surviving the onslaught and being able to continue with this particular governmental regime. That's what winning looks like. But the bigger aspirational goal would be to push the U.S. out of some of these countries in the region. And, it seems far-fetched at this point, but if you're Saudi, if you're UAE in particular, and you're looking at the fact that you thought you were getting protection from the U.S., and instead it's made you a target.
I'm sorry, but your name isn't Israel. We only protect Israel in this country. Israel is the only country that matters. It's the only country, period, okay? We are all Israel. Just you're not Israel, though. Gulf states, you're not Israel.
Well, that is going to change your calculus. That is going to change how you're thinking about your relationship with this country and what you're getting out of it. There was wasn't a Saudi analyst that went on, Al Jazeera and was like, they're not protecting us, they're protecting the Israelis.
Yes.
That's their number one
what
priority.
Did you expect?
And again, that wouldn't have been said if it was not sort of permitted and greenlit by the government.
Ugh, I just can't, man. I just can't. I can't understand when people are dumber than me. Like, when these people who, like, their job is to, like, protect the citizens of their country, and they are dumber than me, a little silly YouTuber who, just watches videos and, like, could have told you 10 years ago, like, yeah, don't put those bases on your soil or else you're gonna get your shit rocked someday. Like, I don't know.
So they're feeling very exposed. They're begging to be able to buy more interceptors. We're like we've like ghosted them, not answering their phone calls. Sorry, we don't have any available to sell you. And if we did, we would, prioritize Israel over you. And they are feeling like instead of getting protection from the U.S., we have been destroyed. And for UAE, Dubai, like, these places are not going to recover. All these.
Also, this is something that, like, this is going to have reverberating effects across the entire world. We're showing right now that, like, the only country that we will even put a little bit of, effort into defending is Israel. That's not going to be lost on, like, say, people from the EU or, I don't know, Taiwan. Like, all of these countries are going to be like, oh, I don't know. Can America defend us? Like, it seems like they're incapable of defending their other allies. Like, can they defend us? I don't know. I don't know. Countries, you might want to start rethinking your military alliances if every aspect of your security depends on just the United States coming in and protecting you indefinitely from any forms of aggression from any other actors. You might want to diversify a little bit, okay? Just letting you know.
Influencers who brought in
I'm just trying to help, okay? I'm just trying to help.
all these wealthy expats, they are all fleeing, leaving their dogs behind, by the way, which is disgusting, to, tying them to, just like dropping them off at shelters that are overfull and tying them to lampposts and whatever and just abandoning them there. But in any case, they're all fleeing. The brand damage that Dubai and these other locales are sustaining is going to be irreparable. I mean, you're talking about generations before that goes back to the image that it had previously. So yeah, I understand why he's upset, because this is not the reaction that he wanted from these Gulf states as they recalculate exactly what they're doing with their U.S.
Well, that's the cost, and that's what they're there for. And I could have told them if these people just came and watched my ding dang YouTube streams, then they would have known all this, you know? I guess I wasn't streaming back when they were building the bases on their soil or whatever, but I assure you that if I was, that they could have came and watched me. I would have been saying the same shit back then. Okay,